What's happening now?
We need to get a like a non-stock intro or a more stock intro with like the shutter mark or the like the stock images and stuff.
Yeah. So let's see. There's something tonight. Praise and Smokey both have like streams. They have for quite a while, attacking each other. And we got to give credit where credit's due. Like Praise and Gavin, and and Standing for Truth, and a bunch of the other. Well, no, not Standing for Truth. He actually sided with Smokey. They've called Smokey out pretty seriously on some of the shit he's doing. But then we have to deduct some points because you remember when they were coming after us. None of those guys said.
Did they stop coming? Oh, whenever Smokey was coming after us.
Yeah, when Smokey was coming after us, but now that Smokey is going after the Christians, they're coming out again, against Smokey. But when they were going after me and you guys, we didn't hear a peep out of them. So they get some. So we got to give them some credit, but then we have to deduct some points. I'm adding Leo.
Hello, Leo. I'll put you in the middle.
Leo.
Hey, Leo, how are you, my friend?
Leo is the center of attention.
I know he's an attention whore.
So Immutable, quick question: Do you want to do a quantum mechanics stream with me and Sal tomorrow?
Oh wait, Sal's going to be part of it?
Yeah, well, it's not going to be like a debate or anything. It's just going to be a cordial discussion because Sal said that I seem to have a firm grasp of the subject. I somewhat disagree, and he wanted to have a discussion with me, but I said I don't know the math as well as Immutable does, and he said that he wants to brush up on the math, so I figured that you would probably be a good addition to that discussion.
Yeah, I can probably learn the math. The only thing I can't do is the linear algebra shit.
No, I think he wants to. I think he wants to learn a little bit about orbitals and things.
Yeah,
and
orbitals are a really complicated thing because they come out of when you try to solve the Schrodinger equation in more than one dimension, it kind of gets a little messy.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, and you have to resort to a method of separation of variables and generating two different functions, one of which are called the radial distribution functions, and the other are called spherical harmonics.
There's nothing worse than a fucking messy Schrodinger equation.
Yeah. And I was just, making a bowl of cereal this morning, and I got a messy Schrodinger equation, and I was like, fuck.
The beautiful thing about partial differential equations is, like, once you get beyond two variables, in terms of like the order of the differential equation, it kind of becomes fucked. It becomes almost impossible to solve it analytically.
Mm-hmm. I think Leo is frozen again.
Yeah, he's frozen for me.
Frozen Leo.
It's a Leo popsicle.
I kind of like him like that.
Leo, question for you. Did you watch my the whole video that I posted today?
I had a hell of a time because of the difference in the audio.
Yeah, I was having trouble with OBS and just trying to get everything set up. One of you guys was just going to help me with it.
There's two of those fuckers in here now.
I'll kick the other one out. Now you guys know why you will never see me use StreamYard. Won't happen.
There's
like two people that I feel like StreamYard just hates, and it's you and RJ.
No, I noticed that StreamYard is not a stable platform. And if you go ask any of the big, like, people like Jimmy Snow, people like Matt Dillahunty, people like Cameron Bertuzzi, they're not using StreamYard. None of the big YouTubers are using StreamYard. They're using Zoom, they're using Google Meet, or other third-party platforms. They don't use StreamYard. I'm not going to be using StreamYard. I don't want to use StreamYard. It's not a stable platform. But
do you have evidence to back that up?
It's convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient. That's about the only reason people use it.
Yeah. Well,
that's the reason for me.
What it's got that nobody else seems to fucking have is the ability to put in multiple windows of information and turn them on and off really quickly.
I don't know.
What does the window of information look like?
Well, you would have like a video, and you could bring up a paper, and then you could shut the paper off and bring up a PowerPoint.
You can do that in Zoom and Google Meet. Most of that's got to be done through OBS, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it through OBS.
Bosch does it all the time, my guy.
Are you talking about?
I really want to streams like have like a stream like Modern Day Debate with a similar.
Yeah, Modern Day Debate has a very similar structure to how Kyle set things up when he was running non-sec with Steve.
Yeah,
that kind of had an interesting fate, didn't it?
A platform
The
debate.
lawsuit's still going on.
You know,
I didn't know what was going on. I unsubscribed.
No, it's still going on. There's like it's interesting.
yeah,
I'm sure.
Hey, Leo, do you know what platform Modern Day Debate uses now?
I believe he uses OBS.
Yeah,
Well,
because when I tried OBS with Zoom, it really did not pick up well when I was trying to get everything like that.
yeah, the one
That's-
debate I was in used StreamYard. I think
That's
it's
also
based on like who's running it. So like Praise was our tech guy, and we used StreamYard.
That's
Yeah,
also why I will be using Google Meet, not Zoom. Also, because if you're not like subscribed to Zoom or whatever, where you have to pay, you only get to do like 30 minutes or 45 minutes of a stream, and then it'll cut you out. Fuck
Unless
that.
you get it through a university or something.
And Google Meet, you can bring in 12 people. It's fucking free. You don't have to pay a damn thing for it.
yeah.
Well, so Speed, was there anything that you were wanting to cover? Anything that was Maddox related?
No,
Mad
actually,
Max. We're calling him Mad Max now, just because
Mad
of
Max?
how he rages in every. Did anybody see the debate that he had with this? What was his name, Troy? And then Ask Yourself. I'm not really a big fan of Ask Yourself. I think he's kind of condescending, which is made for an interesting discussion between him and Maddox Mad Max, because they're two fucking peas in a pod.
everybody thinks my picture on the video that tonight is of a donkey. It's not a donkey. It's a mad ox.
I'm pretty sure it's definitely a donkey.
That's
but
a donkey. That's not an
No,
ox.
that's actually a mad ox.
No, it's a donkey. It's not
It
an
doesn't
ox.
even look that angry either.
It might be a mad ass, but it's not a mad ox.
Yeah, I guess I should have got a snooty, condescending looking donkey.
In
I couldn't find one.
In Erica's stream, or premiere, I should say, earlier today, she told me that I should totally debate Mad Max on a bio, and I'm like, he won't debate me on everything ever since I owned him on fucking quantum mechanics in that one stream. Hasn't let me in his streams, doesn't directly associate with me, because that's him. If he knows that somebody knows more than him on shit, he just doesn't even associate with him.
Well, I was chatting with him about asking him to come on and talk about his codes on our channel, because then he can't mute me, but he wants me to come on tomorrow. He's got a channel, that $50 award that he's giving.
Oh,
Yeah, Mental Combat Mondays. Am I the only person who doesn't think that makes sense in any way at all?
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know what that is about. There is
the way he chose to introduce this.
What is it? This thing even? Wait, what is it? That's what I'm curious.
It's basically like a lightning round debate. So apparently each person, they're going to try and disprove Maddox on the fact that DNA is a code.
It's not.
Well,
It's not.
That's people are going to try and demonstrate to him that DNA is not a code, and they have a 5-minute opening. What was it?
That would be easy. I could probably do it in 3.
It's like a 5-minute opening, a 7-minute. It's something retarded. I forget now.
Let's see here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 professional sources that say that it's definitely not a code. That those are analogies that have been so ingrained into the language of how we talk about biology that oftentimes lay people misconfuse it as being ontologies or literal, actual descriptions of what these are, rather than analogical descriptions of what these are.
Yeah, you see, if you look at the definitions, there's a system of words, letters, figures, other symbols substituted for other words for secrecy. That's one definition. Program instructions. Neither of those really apply to DNA.
Yeah. The one, my favorite one, is from the Stanford University Press, and this, I don't know when it was written. It says retrieved 11/7/2015. I'm sure if I opened the link, I might be able to find if it was written, if that's when it was written, or if that's just when it was retrieved. Quote, yet as the authors point out, these are just metaphors, analogies, not ontologies. Necessary and productive as they have been, they have their epistemological limitations. Deploying analyses of language, cryptology, and information theory, the author persuasively argues that, technically speaking, the genetic code is not a code. DNA is not a language, and the genome is not an information system. Objections that were voiced by experts as early as the 1950s.
Yep.
End quote. I am going to click on that link. I want to know when this actually.
Otangelo says, "Lol, nonsense."
That's because he doesn't have a response. You see, this is the thing you'll notice about creationists. Though when it's what is it? It's the I want to say it's like the fallacy of gibberish or the appeal to gibberish, where somebody provides a response that's more of a non-response that literally doesn't even address anything in any cogent manner, anything that resembles the point that you made, because they want to object to it, but don't have any fundamentally substantive cogent response to give to what you said. So just be like, oh, well, that's just ridiculous. That's just nonsense. That's not a response. That's a non-response. So when somebody can provide an actual response, they're more than welcome to, but they can't because they don't have one.
Isn't that bordering on incredulity?
Yeah, it is. It is incredulous. The book that quote comes from is Who Wrote the Book of Life? A History of the Genetic Code by Lily E. K.
Otangelo, you're going to convince people by citing your own like WordPress article on this.
And that is actually technically an appeal to authority fallacy, because he's appealing to himself, and he isn't an authority on this because he has no degrees that are even relevant to what we're talking about.
Oh, God
Yeah.
help me.
I can also cite from Advancing Health Literacy, A Framework for Understanding and Action by Christina Zarkadoulis, Andrew Pleasant, and David S. Greer, and John Wiley and Sons, April 5th, 2009, page 192. And they say, quote, the discovery of the structure of DNA in 1953 led to the next shift in how people understood and talked about genomics. During this phase, the notion of DNA working as a code became a dominant metaphor. Today, we still often encounter such metaphors in expressions like genetic code, specifically in quotes, and the effort to, specifically in quotes, break the code. Extending the metaphor, parts of the structure of DNA were often referred to as, again in quotes, letters, and groups of them spelled out, again in quotes, words. So you can tell by how they're talking about it, these are not literal ontologies of the structure of DNA. They are metaphorical analogies that help us understand what it is and how it works. We as humans are limited linguistically in how we can describe things, and we oftentimes use metaphors because it simplifies things in a way in which a much more broad demographic of people are capable of actually understanding the nuances of a particular subject that would otherwise be difficult. It's the same reason that we call stars factories, even though stars aren't actually factories. Or we call stars furnaces, nuclear furnaces, even though they're not a furnace. So these are metaphors. And I pointed this out to Otangelo in our debate on Agree to Disagree. He is doing something that's called confusing the map with the place.
Yep.
It's like stating, well, I saw a map of the Earth and I saw latitude and longitude lines on it. So therefore, the actual Earth has lines painted across it latitudinally and longitudinally, except it doesn't. That's a map. That is a description of the Earth. It isn't the Earth. No map is the Earth. It's a description of the Earth. When you look at the United States, you don't see the states as different colors with letters painted over them. You just see land. And that's what he's doing. He's confusing the map with the place, as the adage often goes.
Wait a minute. You mean Minnesota isn't green?
Nope.
Yeah,
No.
Alabama is always red on every colored map.
Yeah.
God damn it. I thought it was green.
You know, it's always curious how like people like Otangelo and Maddox think they know better than the experts when it comes to like what science actually is concluded or arrived at in terms of consensus on whether DNA is a code or not.
Well, the thing is that they build if you listen to Maddox's dialogue and Otangelo, what they do is they build their conclusion into their premise. They call it a code, they call it programming language, they call it machines, they call it factories, and they do that with the built-in hidden meaning of those things, meaning there was an intelligent designer. So they're putting it's basically a begging the question.
Well, Maddox pretty much like tacitly admits in doing that and saying like, well, it's it's a code because how could it not be a code type of thing?
Incredible argumentation.
This is another thing demonstrating it's either the disingenuousness or the dishonesty of these interlocutors, because he cited from Nature Journal because the title says the digital code of DNA. So what again he is doing is assuming they mean that literally when they obviously don't. They're just reading the titles of things, saying, "Hey, you know what? That sounds like it supports me," and then citing it, thinking that it does, despite the fact that I haven't fucking read the whole thing.
Oh,
Someone dropped, but we also have a Demeter.
Oh,
Nope.
wait a minute.
Oh, we do? Oh. There you go.
Oh, God damn it. Are you?
Hold on here. So I want to have just a really quick exchange here, like a minute-long exchange with Demeter.
Hello, guys.
What is your PhD in again, Demeter?
There might be some lag.
Yeah. Yep, there is.
There's a lot of
Molecular biology.
Molecular biology, awesome. Is DNA, as in the actual physical molecule, literally a code, or is that just a useful analogy?
Okay, so I needed to stop my second voice here. So, yeah. Okay, of course, the DNA is clearly physical molecular. It's not a code by itself. The genetic code is if you think about what actually in the cell knows what is the code, and the code is embedded in the structure of amino acid synthetases. This is the proteins which can recognize the correct RNA, tRNA, with the correct amino acid. So, because the structure of this enzyme can pair the correct amino acid with the correct tRNA, it links the code. Actually, we call that this is the only moleculars, meaning the only proteins which actually know the genetic code. The amino acid synthetases by itself are those structures. So the genetic code is embedded in the structure of the amino acid synthetases because it links the correct amino acid with the correct tRNA.
Yeah, that's exactly how I understood it.
That is what is all about. From that perspective, everything is just reading. Whatever is written in DNA, whatever it's written in RNA, is just reading.
Well, you have it here first, folks, from an actual PhD in molecular biology.
Well,
I don't know how what more is needed.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh wow.
It's totally different question how actually the genetic code came to be. So that's another area of research.
Yeah, I mean, from what you just described, it seems as if though the genetic code would seem to evolve around the enzymatic capabilities of amino acyl tRNA synthetases or transference.
Yeah, that is exactly. So if you, I don't wanna over present myself, my work, but I just want to mention that in the second paper, or in the first paper, 2018 and 2020 paper for the genetic code, the entire hypothesis which I presented for the so-called bridge peptide is exactly because you need to have, and this is a kind of absolute base when you're looking for the beginning of origin of life and the beginning of genetic code, of the beginning of information, meaning you must somehow to specify the right amino acid to the right tRNA. So you have to link it. Otherwise, you have randomness. If you have constantly random amino acylation of any RNA to any tRNA, you don't have code. There is no possibility to have code if every single amino acid is equally probable to interact with any single tRNA, for example. Yeah, so, and the bridge peptide hypothesis actually comes to solve this problem. It's reasonable as well.
Interesting. Yeah, no, Atangelo, I don't think that he refuted me. You must not have been listening very closely. I'm not surprised by that.
Well, I mean, it's not surprising Otangelo doesn't listen. I mean, look how many conversations Demeanor and Otangelo have had with each other.
Yeah, no
How
shit.
basic of the errors that Otangelo keeps committing are.
Yeah,
I mean, it's absurd.
quite absurd.
Well, these guys just got to believe.
Is Demeter that may truly embarrass you? Showed how little knowledge you are. Okay, so that's to everyone. Hi, Chen.
Yeah, so little knowledge.
So, I mean, for example, one thing it's absolutely
Okay,
important.
this part. Okay, let's address that there's no physical interaction.
Yes, there is, because that's what chemistry is.
I think
That's wrong. Of course.
The Holy Ghost is assembling your peptides.
No, it's not
I-
Holy Ghost, it's fairies.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we covered that part with the no physical interaction. We already discussed it very well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
the thing is, his idea of what an interaction is constitutes breaking and making of covalent bonds. Which,
So, I mean, in fact, again, back to the amino acyl synthetases, that's what it is. So, amino acyl synthetase interacts with the correct amino acid and interacts with the correct tRNA. So, you don't need, what does it mean, physical interaction? It just put the correct amino acid to the correct tRNA. That's it. It's all based on a physical, chemical, enzyme activity.
Yep.
I mean,
like,
this is very well known. It's
Yeah.
described.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to say, like, there isn't any relevant professional that's going to deny this. It's just
okay,
lay people with a very, very basic, very, very surface level understanding of the subject that then think that they have the intellectual prowess to go up against actual professionals who are looking at them and saying, no, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. This is what it means. And then they just refuse to be corrected, because that's the nature of creationism.
So
okay.
Otangelo says that there is no interaction between anticodons and
That's
tRNA
creationism.
amino acid
Okay.
binding
Okay,
point.
well,
Somebody's got an echo.
Michael, I'm gonna have to talk with you. Isn't this Saturday Night the Atheist, not Saturday
I know, but
Night Show?
I know I made a mistake.
What'd you say? Not Saturday Night Shit Show.
Oh, by the way, Otangelo, I muted you until you could figure out your echo thing, but
Yeah.
you're good to unmute yourself.
Okay, guys, if you were to say that, like, if I took a broom and I hit this raccoon out here on the fence, you could say there's no physical interaction.
Well,
In the
it's
same
more-
way that
it's
you
more
could say
akin-
that tRNA is there's no physical
It's
interaction.
more akin to saying that there's no physical interaction between gluons and quarks to bind them together to make a proton. It's just fucking wrong, and no physicist would actually say that.
Well, but also wait, never mind. I'm confused. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's not surprising.
Well, by that logic, there's no physical interaction between like the electrons orbiting a nucleus and the nucleus to make a freaking atom.
Yeah, and there definitely
That's
is. And it's the
logically
exchange of a photon, virtual photon. I should
Okay,
say.
let's explain one more time. Physical molecular tRNA, which have a L shape like this. So it's like that, L shape. From one side of this tRNA, you have anticodon. From the other side, you have amino acid acceptor arm. You have enzyme which interacts with both, with the anticodon recognized and the acceptor arm. So in this interaction, the correct amino acid is positioned to the correct tRNA which have the correct anticodon. From that point, the link is done. The amino acyl synthetase go away, and the tRNA is already linked with the correct amino acid to the correct anticodon. And next step is just recognition of the codon, which comes from the mRNA. After this recognition, the process continue, and I'm not going to explain the entire ribosomology right now. It's too complicated.
I'm going to go hit this raccoon with a broom. I'll be right back.
Remember, Speed, there will be no physical interaction here.
Nope.
The raccoon and you.
Nope, not at all.
So we covered that. Go next.
Okay, I would like to clarify that once for all. The claim that the genetic code is not a real code.
It's not.
And okay, so I would like to cite
It is
here
real
from-
code. It's absolutely real code. What is not real? You have absolutely real interactions, and you have absolutely real structure that recognize the genetic code.
Okay, so Dimitar, is it correct that the genetic code is, in a literal sense, the assignment of 61 codons and 3 stop codons to 20 amino acids? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a literal assignment and a cipher from the codons to the amino acids, correct?
Yes.
So would you say that this is a metaphorical or that it is a literal assignment?
It is literal assignment in terms of actual physical assignment.
Good.
It's a
Okay,
physical
Leophilus.
process.
Good, Leophilus. So can you elucidate what is metaphorical in what Dimitar just said?
I never said that anything he said was metaphorical. That the molecule deoxyribonucleic acid is itself a code is not true. We call it code because we invented a code table made up of 4 letters that represent 4 molecules on that. And as Dimitar just said, the structure of those molecules is the code, but the molecule itself is not. It's just a molecule. If that were the case, every molecule would, to some degree, be a code and would code for whatever particular interactions that it can engage in. No chemist would say that because it's not true.
Okay,
I've already
Leophilus,
cited 3 sources written by
Leophilus.
professionals that disagree with you. So you can try to hammer the point home until you're blue in the face, but you will still be wrong when you turn blue.
Okay, but
Leophilus,
D'Angelo, I don't understand where you're going with this.
Well,
You
the
have
thing is
He thinks that
the
because it's a code, therefore it has to have a code giver, and that was God, which is
Well,
just not the case.
it is like a difference between, for example, domesticated animals and the wild animals. Domesticated
Dimitar.
animals are directed by selection made from human. So, and the wild animals are selected, and they are selected and because of the natural conditions. The same thing is from the code. The code
Dimitar,
began because you have a natural process of selection.
Dimitar, I would like to clarify that the exact same thing that you have explained right now is what I tried to explain to Leophilus in our debate. You guys
You
can go
failed because you didn't
back,
mention that.
and I exactly said the same words. I said that 61 codons and 3 stop signs, they are assigned to amino acids. That has been my assertion all along. I've never said that the DNA molecule, the physical molecule, is a code. Of course,
Backpedaling
it's
now.
not.
So it is assigned, but this is a real physical assignment. So
Good.
I don't
So
understand
that's
where the problem is.
No, there is no problem, Dimitar. The whole point which I am making is that assignment of meaning is always something which has intelligent assured.
No,
Okay.
no, that's
Okay,
a,
No, I have
Hold on,
an
hold on.
analogy to make here. Go ahead, Immutable.
Even if you were to grant that, it still doesn't have meaning in the sense that the thing you're aiming for, right? The purpose of the ribosome is to string together amino acids together in order to form a protein. But even once the ribosome is finished attaching all those amino acids together in a row, you don't have a fully functional protein yet.
Exactly.
That's an entirely different point, Immutable. That's not the point that I am making.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're saying it has a meaning. Well, what meaning are you asserting that it has?
No. What I am saying that there is an assignment.
What does that mean? What is the importance of the word assignment? You seem to think that because there's assignment that there's some supervenient force that's saying, hey, you better do that. That's not what's happening.
Well, I tried to make an analogy at our debate, Leo, in order for you to understand what I said. But you are not getting it. But I can do the analogy again. When you have a language, can I finish, please, Immutable? When I have a translation book of English to Chinese, then you have there, for example, the word chair in English.
Yeah, you made this already.
Can I finish?
Well, yeah, but why are you repeating something I already know? Because Nephilim 3 has told me that like millions and a half. Oh, I understand it. You just think that I don't understand it because I disagree with you.
That's why
I
giving it to a new audience.
Think that I don't understand it because I don't agree with you.
Yeah, well, he's also giving it to a new audience, so just let him make his argument.
Okay, Tangelo, let me say something simple. Assignment, if assignment is more stable in natural processes, it will survive. You don't need intelligent designer. For example, the combination glycine, arginine, for example, I'm just saying example, it's happened to give a huge advantage in thermal, for example, kind of destruction of the structure, for example. So, in that case, always will survive this particular sequence, glycine, arginine, because it gives physical, I'm emphasizing, real physical chemical advantage. You don't need intelligent designer to have something to crystallize, meaning to emerge, not crystallize like crystal, to emerge as something which is more stable. I gave you a very clear example. RNA, which contains more GC nucleotides, it's more stable than RNA containing A and U. Simple as that. It's entire physical, and that's it. So you have code formation because of stability.
Okay, Dimitar, there is absolutely no reason why the triplets should form that specific sequence of nucleotides.
They didn't.
And then to, well, Leo, it's difficult if I try to make a point and you continually interrupt me. I'm trying to explain something.
The structure was evolved over time.
Would you permit me to make a point, Leo? It's complicated.
You're trying to get to the point that somebody picked the structure and said, that's the structure we're going to use. That's not what happened.
Speed, either you are a moderator here and I am...
Well, you're in Saturday Night of the Atheist on Sundays now, so...
Bye-bye.
Oh, Tangelo, you can join. It's just... we all know Leo has this issue.
I don't really have an issue, but if you say something that's wrong, I'm stopping you right there. And if you don't like it, then don't be fucking wrong. It's as simple as that.
It's more
not
so
my fault that other people are wrong and don't like to be corrected.
So let me say about the reason for the specific sequence. If you read the 2020 paper in May, there is a description exactly on the reasons why the code is exactly that. And I pointed there is two major forces why specific amino acid is assigned to specific sequence, meaning codon. First reason is what is available to make a codon. You cannot take the codon of someone that is already taken from another amino acid. So the amino acid to assign for a codon must have a free combination of nucleotides. That's one reason. And the second reason is that the particular amino acid should have a specific advantage in survival of the complex. So at the beginning, not all amino acids are recruited. And at the beginning, not all amino acids should have importance. Just a few amino acids should have importance, and those will be assigned. There is no reason to have a specific code. The only reason is what is available. At the beginning, available was GC-rich RNA. That's why the very first code, that was the very first amino acids that was assigned, have a codon, anti-codon, GC-rich sequence. Am I clear here, or I was?
Yeah, you're good.
So, any questions? I mean, if you have, I think I was quite clear. There is no reason, particular sequence. It's simply a process of selection. That's it.
Yeah, that's why I stopped him, because he was going to try to get to the point that, well, it's got the particular structure it does because somebody had to give it that. Nope, that's not true. The structure developed.
I had my mouse on the mute button on you, Leo, but then Tangelo bailed. So
sucks to suck.
Well, I mean, Tangelo can come back in. It's just
But you had a good point. You were trying to shortcut him, because
yeah, I understand that people don't like that, but the thing is, don't make oft-refuted points that literally no fucking academic accepts, that have been shown time and again to be wrong. If you don't want to be cut off and saying, hey, you're saying something we already know is wrong, do you have something else? I don't want to be proven wrong. Don't say shit that's wrong. I mean, it's really that simple.
So I think some other people had questions for Demeter, if we're moving off from the Otangelo thing, since he's probably not going to come back. I think Creo and Rational Empiricist had some questions.
Yes, so may I ask to Dmitry, do you think that it is a problem with abiogenesis about transmembran proteins must be there in order to chemical stuff could pass through membrane, like Cell Cordova tells that?
I'm sorry, I simply don't understand the question.
I think what he's asking is, do you think that transmembrane proteins must have been present at some level for early protocells or for very early organisms?
Some transmembrane proteins?
Proteins like ion channel pumps, things like that.
I don't know.
That's a difficult one.
That's so. I mean, the question is kind of too intuitive. Some sort of so from the scientific point of view, there is two processes. First, you have evolution of the proteins by itself, the very first proteins. What I mean, they should start from very short peptide and they should go through the more complicated motifs. After that, you will have domains, and those domains will start to fold, and now you have a full protein. The difference between simple peptide and protein is very clear. The simple peptide have amino acids and interacts based on just those composition of the amino acids with anything that it touch. For example, if amino acids are positively charged, will interact with negatively charged surface, and so on. If the peptide possess hydrophobic amino acids, of course, will interact better with the lipids, and that's quite understandable. However, once the peptide became longer, assuming the evolution is undergoing, the selection is undergoing, so once the peptide became longer, it will start to fold and make a motifs. Andreas Lupas, for example, he is from Max Planck Institute, and he published several papers on a so-called motif language of the peptides. And this is his major contribution to show that the very first motifs are specific motifs, which you can build every single next generation of proteins just by recombination of these motifs. So, and his papers are wonderful papers.
What was his name again?
Andre Lupas.
Lupus. Like
Yeah.
the wolf? Like the wolf?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So he's a professor, chair of the department. I don't know. I don't remember which one department was in Max Planck's institute.
Thanks.
Somebody is breathing heavy into their mic.
So in the very beginning, I'm not saying the very okay. So because it's a very long story. So at the very beginning, when you have formed some sort of vesicle with a lipid layer, it makes sense some initial even peptide or a little bit more complicated peptide to interact very well with the lipids and also to provide some function as a channel. Although will be primitive, quite primitive function, it still might select very well and make a distinction between the environment outside and the environment inside. So that's as much as I can answer for this question.
Thanks a lot. Also, may I ask also another one? Do you think that evidence for abiogenesis is that nucleotides ATGC are more resistant to ultraviolet light as other possible nucleotides?
It's very difficult to understand the question again. Something about resistance of nucleotides to what?
Do you think that evidence of abiogenesis is that for nucleotides that are used are more resistant to ultraviolet light
Ultraviolet
as
light.
other possible nucleotides?
He's saying if are other nucleotides potentially that could possibly exist? Or do the ones that
Am
we
I not
have
clear?
most resistant to light compared with other ones?
I think
So-
Demeter's just having a hard time understanding your accent.
So no, it's okay. It's not about the accent.
Oh, it's not a problem. I was just
It's
letting him
kind
know.
of very. It's not very loud enough. So, but as far as I can say, and whatever I understood right now, for the UV light and, for example, the genesis or not biochemistry, but the prebiotic chemistry of nucleotides, one of the biggest names in this field is Dimitar Suslov. He is from Harvard Institute, and he is doing these particular investigations, which his research is dedicated actually to the production, synthesis, prebiotic synthesis of the nucleotides. And also he discovered that based on UV light, there might be a shift of the synthesis of the nucleotides in different directions. UV by itself is not one wave light. You have a very relatively broad spectrum of UV. One is very hard, meaning Liu knows very well that one is more energetic, another is not that energetic. And they have a different impacts over the stability of the nucleotides. For example, in a not that much energetic UV light, if you have two uracils, for example, it makes a bridges. And that actually eliminates the RNA from the ability to make Watson-Crick based pairs, for example. So there is a lot of speculations about the role of UV lights at the beginning. My understanding is that UV light it's not that destructive as usually used to think about. Especially GC-rich RNA is kind of more stable in UV light. If it's all about UV light, if you ask me something else, I can. Yep.
It was about that the 4 nucleotides that were selected because they are resistant to using.
Can you go to the top of the paper, whoever's sharing that, Speed or whoever?
So about the why this particular 4 nucleotide has been selected, this is the question?
Yes.
So you have to understand that I have to turn the page a little bit before this point. The focus in the entire trick, or let me say, the key for understanding origin of life is to understand that the origin of life is a process of formation of Darwinian evolution. Once you have Darwinian evolution emerged, everything else is explainable by selection. So that doesn't mean that initially the formation of Darwinian evolution might not be with many different, let me say, variants of the nucleotides, or could be RNA-like molecular, not exactly the RNA that we know today. But in the process of selection, which is started after the Darwinian evolution emerged, of course, you have those molecules left over which are indeed most functional to survive. So bottom line, the base pairs, the Watson-Crick base pairs, are one that determine exactly those 4 particular nucleotides.
Thanks a lot. Also, may I ask another question?
Don't ask me.
Okay, so another would, how do you think the DNA repair system enzyme have been evolved?
How do you think the DNA repair enzyme was evolved?
Yes.
Okay, at this particular question, I can say only how I think, because there is not much research here. You should not forget right now that the entire space, the entire field, which is from the origin of life, the first Darwinian evolution emerged, which I'm calling Terra Darwinia, to the formation of LUCA, which is the last universal common ancestor. So the entire field from here to here, it's so unknown. It's a terra incognita. Nobody knows anything about that. However, the very first peptides, so this is my opinion here, the very first peptides which emerged, as I mentioned, it's most likely was the bridge peptide which generated to some sort of specificity between the particular amino acids and particular RNA. So it secure the amino acylation or interaction between the specific amino acid and specific tRNA. And as I mentioned before, this is the beginning of the code. However, the next generation of peptides are more dedicated to the RNA replication. And this is very easy to explain because all polymerases which exist and which we know so far, all polymerases, the catalytic center of all polymerases are just 2 or 3 magnesium ions which sitting in particular space. And any suitable peptide could hold 2 or 3 magnesium ions, and that will generate and facilitate the replication of RNA, for example. However, at that first period of time when you have peptide replication peptide, you also will have the same time you will have an repair as well, because you don't have difference between repair and replication. So at the very first moments, you just need to have a Darwinian evolution, but the next simple step is the replication, which will be equal to repair as well, because they will not be repaired as a separate function initially. So to have a repair, you must have a relatively big, long genome and relatively well-formed long peptides at least. So one very interesting enzyme is, it's not exactly repair, but it's considered one of the most, one of the ancient enzymes, which you know, everyone knows that the tRNA contains a motif which is called on acceptor arm. Its motif is CCA motifs. And this is usually, it's added by specific enzyme, CCA. The same class of enzymes, we just add the particular nucleotides, they're adding without having template. So they're just adding without template. I can say this is a very interesting first enzymes which are doing not just repair, no replication as well. The same type of enzymes actually doing in eukaryotic system polyadenylation of mRNA. So you know every mRNA have a polyadenyl, and that preserves the mRNA, but this is eukaryotic system. My point was the enzyme that is doing this polyadenylation, it's related to those kinds of enzymes that are adding CCA on a tRNA in all organisms. So it's just a thought.
Okay, thanks a lot.
So anything for origin of life, if you want to discuss something, or just, I mean, I don't mind to set up another time, guys, for that if you want. So
Maybe this. What do you think about complex protein that have been found in meteorite? Do you know that article?
Something about complex proteins.
Found
Evolved?
in meteorite. I think.
Found in what was that?
I don't remember now, so it was. Speed of sound should know that more precisely.
Speed, what are you doing? You're muted. No. Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. What's up?
No, I'm.
I like your two skulls there.
Yeah. People keep asking if I'm okay, and I just show them a picture of this shit.
I believe Andrew wanted to ask Demeter a question, if I remember correctly. I don't know if he's yeah, he's there.
Okay. My particular question was more in the line of molecular genetics, if that was fine.
Yeah,
he is a molecular biologist.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Sorry about that.
Stupid fucking.
So basically, my question, which I've asked this to other particular biologists, most of them would agree that point mutations point mutations to regulatory elements within the genome seem to play a large role within phenotypic evolution. And I want to hear your thoughts on that, and the specific relationship or the significance of mutations to protein versus regulatory regions. Like in terms of which might be more significant for morphological evolution. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So the answer is very unexpected to you. It depends. And I can tell you right now, genome, for example, if you're talking about eukaryotic genome, if you just look any sequence eukaryotic, nowadays you can go and browse it, the actual sequence. The eukaryotic genome, of course, it has exons and introns, everybody knows that, and a lot of between the genes, space, and so on.
Right.
In the genomic, so the mutations which occurred versus function, it clearly depends on where the point mutation it is. For example, if you look the genome and try to compare between the different genomes, you will see enormous number of so-called SNPs, SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism. This is just a single nucleotides which changed between the different organisms and different people, even people, between people and between organisms. And the SNPs are everywhere, meaning that to occur, the SNPs is a result of point mutation, basically. But in many cases, in most of the cases, if you have point mutation somewhere between the genes, it doesn't matter. However, we know very well that there is a specific point mutations which just if it happened in the particular spot, in the particular sequence, it might have a huge impact over the phenotype. For example, if you think about if you change, let me say, if you just change it's, for example, RAS V12, there is a one very famous mutation in the cancer biology. This is mutation, point mutation in a RAS signaling pathway, which makes the RAS as an enzyme constantly active, which trigger constantly a signal toward proliferation. And this is a result just of one single point mutation. More dangerous are usually single nucleotide deletion or single nucleotide amplification, because if it's happened to be in exon area, you may generate a frame shift. If you have a frame shift mutation, that will ruin the entire protein. So it will be transcribed and will be translated, but it will be nonsense. So, and that's happened as well. So deletions and interactions, deletions and inserts more dangerous than just the point mutation in general. However, it all depends. And in evolutionary biology also there is a rule. Everything which is very important, it stays mostly conservative from evolutionary point of view. And everything that it's not so important is usually not that conservative. And you can see clearly that all of the, if you make a just alignment between the different genomes, you will see very clearly, it's obvious. Directly you will see that the most conservative regions are those with the exons, and especially the regions which is very important. And we in the molecular biology, this is how usually we recognize how important is some gene, from the point of view how conservative is the gene. Because if any mutation occurred, of course it will get out, it might compromise the function, and the organism might die, and therefore will not give the offsprings and so on. So it depends very much. You might have a huge deletion, for example, somewhere between the genes, and nothing to happen. There will not be. There might not be any phenotypical difference. At the same time, you might have a very little, just a little deletion in specific gene, and the organism to die. So it all depends.
Okay. Thank you. So just to quickly clarify on something, just so everyone else can talk. So when you I think something you mentioned was that mutations sometimes have bigger effects than others, and that kind of reminds me of, I believe, the term pleiotropy, if that's how it's pronounced. And I was wondering if it's, just to clarify, correct that a protein, for instance, can be used in multiple different organs or traits, for instance, if it's highly pleiotropic, and so a mutation for the gene for that specific protein would usually be detrimental, or would it, like you said, it would depend, but it would be sometimes detrimental because it would affect it in all the different regions, whereas a mutation in an enhancer region, for instance, that controls the expression of that gene in particular organs, wouldn't be as detrimental. Would you say that's reasonable?
Yeah, like,
So I will say that you have to go case by case. In molecular biology, usually I used to say that if something could happen, it will happen eventually. So you may have different cases.
yeah, like a gene with
yeah.
high pleiotropy would be more conserved, particularly if it's involved in development or something like that. Because in development, there's a lot of pleiotropy in genes.
I also have a quick question whenever we get to it.
Yeah, so that's you can have combinations. For example, if you look the evolution for example, the receptor proteins. So one protein, you have the same, for example, the same domains, and whatever it's in the cytoplasmic domain, for example, might be different. So, or you can have the same cytoplasmic domain, but with a different receptor part, which is the outside of the cell. The variety is it is a huge, enormously huge. Right now, I'm studying actually developmental biology, and I was completely shocked how many transcription factors and pathways you can have. They have lots of redundant functions and overlapping functions. They work in combinations and so on. But you also can see very clearly how evolutionary those can occur because they are very similar. And just one small change might go toward different direction. So that's just my thought. So, Leo, what you want to say?
And I know a little bit about what translational pausing is, but I wanted to ask you, does translational pausing pose any, I guess, threat, for lack of a better word, to either the mRNA or the nascent peptide chain? And if so, what is the extent of that threat?
So I heard also about this. Actually, it's not in my field.
Okay.
But this is a kind of moment of preventing the ribosome to generate a wrong peptide,
okay,
wrong protein. And it's very well understandable how could happen evolutionary. I'm not familiar with exactly evolutionary point study of this particular mechanism in bacteria, but something mimic RNA and actually prevent mistake or mistaken protein.
Okay.
It is. I mean, I don't know the details, but also whatever I know so far, I saw it's very easy to explain evolutionary as well.
Okay. I wonder if Dan would know something about that.
Could be. So if you have any questions for Origin of Life, unfortunately I gotta go. It's kind of too late for me right now.
Late.
So,
Oh, that's right. You gotta go to work.
Yeah, I think he's an hour ahead of us as well, speed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a
you
little
gotta
after 11 p.m. where he's at.
yeah.
May I ask something?
Yeah.
Okay, Dmitry, how would you answer? What is your evidence that abiogenesis actually occur? So some demonstrable facts that we can observe that abiogenesis had occurred in a specific way.
He's asking for evidence of abiogenesis. Anything that might
So
indicate that it can
if
happen.
you think about everything that it's happened, every single mechanism and molecular in the organic in the organisms on the cell, it is natural process. You can explain it. It is a natural process. Also, if you look from for Origin of Life, there is two approaches. One approach it's called upside down, from top to the bottom, not upside. Sorry, I'm still sleeping. So meaning from top to the bottom, and from bottom to the top. So if you look from the top to the bottom, it is obvious that based on all of the records, based on fossil records, you see how back in time, if you go back in time, it gets simpler and simple organisms. To some point, there is only one single cell organisms. Also, if you go from the genetic point of view, you can see the common genes, which are common for all domains of life, and you can even further go to the back in time just bioinformatical, let's say this way, and you can see that the Luca was about 300 plus genes, and those genes are most conservative and presented in every single domain of life genes. And this is genes connected with transcription, translation, metabolism. The membranes not that many, but some, yes. So from the point of view of top bottom, you come to the point that just a few processes might be very important in the beginning. And if you look the other approach from bottom to the top, you see that all of the precursors, so-called building blocks of life that everybody call it this way. So amino acids, nucleotides, lipids, all of this is very reasonable to be produced in a normal prebiotic conditions. I mean normal, sorry. There is nothing normal or not normal in a prebiotic conditions. So it's very natural. And also there is an explanation. There is a very clear explanation for how the Darwinian evolution started, and how, at least theoretically, you can think about the processes of the beginning of life by natural laws. And I always want to point something to the creationists. If you're talking about, for example, if you're talking for abiogenesis, they used to say it's not possible to have abiogenesis. And the question here is, by what law? By what law? How you can say that it's not possible? What is your law that forbid the formation of abiogenetics? Now,
Usually they say reducibly complex.
yeah, but I also show that the beginning of life is just with a few amino acids and a few, just a few amino acids, very short peptide with very short RNA could start, completely feasible. And also, for example, can you do a perpetual motion engine? Leophilis, can you do that?
What was that? Sorry,
Can you do a perpetual motion engine?
Nope.
No, because there is a law.
Second law of thermodynamics.
There is a law for conservation of energy. Correct?
Yep.
So,
Yes.
because of the law, you can say clearly that it's not possible to happen. So because of the law, it's not possible to happen. However, if you say, for example, origin of life, it's not possible, you have to provide a law for that, or something. On contrary, you have a numerous of very well proven interactions and so on, which can show, and there is a clear logic why and how could happen. So,
Thanks a lot.
yeah. Okay, guys. I have to go for now, and see you anytime. You have to, in advance, to tell me. Saturday or Sunday, I can discuss more issues with this.
Is it
Okay, good
possible
night, Demeter.
Peace out.
Night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All
I
right.
always feel very intellectually small.
Wow.
Somebody like him comes around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now that our cash cow is gone, we have to milk some drama or something. Quick.
No drama.
Well, you know what? I think Ian should pop in for a little bit and tell us about his upcoming debate with good old Nephilim Freebase.
No,
I think Ian said he's in a
That's
business
a
meeting or
private
something.
conversation.
Why?
It's a private conversation.
Why?
Well, he's also in a business meeting right now.
Oh.
Leo?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he said that he was listening to us while like talking to his boss or whatever.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there was some interesting stuff that came out about how the actual A Song of Ice and Fire series is supposed to be ended. George R.R. Martin has already said that the way that it was ended in the television adaptation is really not accurate, because you essentially see, by all rights, the death of the Targaryen dynasty with the murder of Daenerys Targaryen, despite the fact that Jon is, half Targaryen, but he didn't have any children at the end of the series. He went Bath. He just wanted to be the bastard beyond the wall. But he expressed that at the beginning of the A Song of Ice and Fire series, what happened is it essentially starts with the at least perceived destruction of the Targaryen dynasty. So he was hinting at the series will end with its resurgence. And one thing, does anybody ever ask themselves why the final season came out in 2019 instead of 2018? Has anybody ever wondered that?
Can't say I have, considering I've only watched like 2 seasons of the show.
Sorry,
the
I'm not
reason,
interested
at
in
least
that.
the most likely reason, is that because they started filming it and then they reworked it. In the original filming, and there are screenshots that were verified from the set, Daenerys is pregnant. She's not pregnant in the one that we saw. So it seems to be that Daenerys will actually get pregnant by Jon Snow in the books, and that will in some way lead to the resurgence of the Targaryen dynasty. But you also have to remember that in the books, Aegon Targaryen, the one that was from Rhaegar and Elia Martell, the one that Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, dashed against the wall, that he's actually alive. And right now is in the company of Tyrion Lannister and the Golden Company, headed to Meereen to speak with Daenerys. In the books, what apparently what happens is Varys replaced Aegon with some child, some infant from Pisswater that was dubbed the Pisswater Prince, and that's the one whose head was dashed against a wall, while the real Aegon was, I believe, in the care of Sir John Connington. So there's a lot of stuff they left out of the television adaptation. And you really don't realize how hard that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss tried to fuck this series every which way from Sunday until you read the book Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, where a lot of stuff is revealed that they changed and completely fucking chopped and screwed. So what it seems to me, I can't say that Daenerys won't end up dead. I'm starting to think that probably won't be the case. Whether or not she ends up being the one that takes the throne, I suspect that the series will end with a Targaryen sitting on the Iron Throne and Daenerys either having already given birth or giving birth to the next generation of Targaryens. Because George R. R. Martin has expressed that the whole point of the series is to bring Jon and Dany together, that they meet, hinting at this whole resurgence of the Targaryen dynasty. So that's... I think, and the thing is, George R. R. Martin's the one who invented all of this. Like, his word reigns above everybody else's. So if he says something, go with what he says.
I think you would enjoy like any of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere work. It's quite
I don't
fun.
know. Is it
It's another fantasy thing.
Is it epic medieval fantasy?
Kind of. It's high fantasy, so it's not necessarily medieval. It's on a different planet, but it is like.
Well, I mean, so is.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones.
I think magic plays a more central role in most of the Cosmere stuff.
In ASOYAF, magic in the books, magic. I mean, we're not talking like Harry Potter level magic where like most people can do it that are talked about, but it's a little bit more prominent than it was in the television adaptation. That's one reason why the television adaptation is entertaining. I'm not going to say it's not good, but the books, I haven't even actually read all the books, at least all the way through. I've read about as much as I can find on the internet. There's a book that I have, well, not like read from cover to cover, but have done a lot of research in called A World of Ice and Fire, which came out in 2014, which was just, it's pretty much a massive collection of the lore, giving a lot of the background of stuff, the history of people, houses, continents, places, maps, a lot of maps in it, stuff like that. And then the Westeros.org, Westeros.org, which is essentially the official Canonical website of the series. I've done hours of reading on there. So I've pretty much read the books, and there's so much more in them. So much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's high fantasy. It's similar to Song of Ice and Fire. Well, no, I wouldn't say that necessarily. But basically, Brandon Sanderson, he's constructed like this internally consistent universe where there's... each world is inhabited by like a different shard of a god that was killed like thousands of years ago. And each of these shards embody an emotion, essentially. And these emotions give that planet magical powers that are based on that emotion, right? So like the Way of Kings, which is the first book in Stormlight Archives, the series I'm reading right now. That planet is inhabited by honor, cultivation, and odium. Those are like the three gods, and they're all like war and shit.
Does this essence, I guess you could say, that dictates each of these worlds have an influence on how the people in them behave? Like, so honor,
they do
tend to be honorable and everything like that.
Yeah, so I think Brandon Sanderson has like the most in-depth world building of any fiction writer.
Yeah. Ian makes a really good point, and he says, because apparently he's read this, he says Cosmere is not as political as ASOIAF. Yeah. That's one of the things that I really, really liked about, I just call it Game of Thrones because it's what most people know it as, but I am referring to, when I talk about it, most of the time I'm referring to the book series. But it is quite political, but what I like about it is extraordinarily accurate in its politics, that marriages and, heirs, having children was all far more for politics and power and everything like that than it was for people actually wanting to get married and wanting to have children, and how you really get to see how all these different houses and different factions, I guess you could say, compete for power and wealth and community and things like that. And that is really one of the things I really like about his series.
Yeah,
that's what I love about Peter F. Hamilton, is this world building.
Oh, speaking of, this just came up on my Twitter feed.
Oh, nice. Yeah. In order to do that reality dysfunction series properly, it would take like $1 billion a movie in order to really do it justice, because it's just great.
It's a lot of CGI, I'm guessing.
There would have to be a hell of a lot in multiple worlds and lots of detailed different cultures and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yes, it was, Ian. Parts of it were. Also, at least two houses were based on real-life houses of the British Isles. House Stark was based off of the real-life House of York, and House Lannister was based off of the real-life House of Lancaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were the main two factions in the War of Roses, right? York and Lancaster?
Believe so, yep.
Yeah. Oh.
So
Ian said the same thing at the same time.
Yep.
Praise is over on Smokey's channel calling him a prig, and they were both going after each other. It's just.
Oh, I gotta go look at this.
It's pretty amazing.
Is it Smokey's Sunday Night Trinity talk, I'm assuming?
Yeah, and Praise is also running a live stream at the same time, so he's over here.
He's not in there.
So they're like actively, the warring camps are actively fighting.
So are they like in each other's live chat, just shitting on each other? Like,
I think so. Yeah,
it is just fucking beautiful. And here's SFT strangling the truth over here, talking about protein probabilities.
Oh
so
yeah.
What I picture is a room with like Otangelo, Nephilim, Praise, Smokey, and Maddox all like in the back yelling at each other and fighting each other and just everything, and standing just sitting at this desk going, well, you know, this stuff couldn't have happened by just like completely ignoring everything, all the shit that's going on behind him. Oh, that community is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how fast like the whole thing went to shit as soon as like Erica was like, yeah, I'm just not going to talk to him anymore.
But because of Smokey, I think this is a demonstration of just how vitriolic Smokey is and how he has to surround himself with drama. And I know this very well because I've knew a group of people on a role-playing game where me, back in 2007, I'm only going to give you a little bit of history behind this. Back in 2007, me and a couple of friends created, quite frankly, created a very large and interactive role-playing community on the game. And one of the factions involved in it, I came to be the leader of, and did that from like 2010 to the time that the game closed in 2013, I do believe. Yeah, 2013. And there were a group of people that all of them were a part of the community because of me. I brought them all in. I'm the reason that they were pivotal in this community. And one of my accounts ended up getting hacked by somebody in an opposing part of the community. And they all blamed me for it, despite the fact that he admitted he hacked me. And then they tried to excommunicate me from the community, although it kind of failed. And they were a group of people that lived and thrived in drama, to the point that when I stopped associating with them, they started to eat each other instead of eating me. And it's the same thing with Smokey. Because a lot of idiots aren't associating with him because of how overly vitriolic and how he's got a little man complex. He's starting to go after the people in his own community over the dumbest, littlest shit because he has to be the center of attention. He's got to be involved in drama. It's his calling card, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but do you know what I think is really going on here? Erica and Dr. Dan hired Smokey. He's an actor. He's like a third-rate actor, and they hired him to go to go in and get revenge.
What if Smokey is Erica's Poe?
It could be.
It could be a sock account.
Yeah, because I can't think of a more brilliant plan than to bring Smokey into that community.
Well, Smokey's been on YouTube for a while, actually. He had another account. It just didn't really go anywhere back in like 2018 or something like that.
No, I think he's an atheist. He's an atheist, and he just has a brilliant plan to fuck them up.
Yeah, it's definitely Eric in disguise.
But do you guys ever think that Smokey and Maddox will end up having shit with each other?
Well, they kind of haven't been together as much, and I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know. They have not been as close as they used to be.
I mean, I think it might disintegrate once like Praise and Smokey just stop caring about each other, if that happens.
Well, I was really surprised that Standing for Truth ended up siding with Smokey on this Trinity thing.
Well, it's because he agrees with Smokey on the Trinity thing.
He's a Trinitarian.
What do you mean? what the hell are they even talking about?
They're bitching and complaining about how to interpret the Trinity. Nephilim,
yes.
I don't think he would say he's a modalist, but he kind of has this modalist air about him. And praise is a what is it?
Monarchist is what he says.
Yeah, a monarchismal Unitarian or some shit like that, where there's just God. I think he does believe that there is some relation that God has to Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but that it's not Trinitarian. And so they're just bitching at each other over this. It's
Nephilim did a stream, and he was genuinely asking Standing for Truth what in the hell they meant. So, like, Nephilim was even confused by the disagreement. It's like, I mean, how many different ways? It's like they're kind of bordering on Buddhism.
Well, I think the Trinitarian versus Unitarianism thing is it's actually one of the deepest splits in the church, right? Like that was a huge problem in like the 300 AD.
Yes, it's been there since the beginning. And then Smokey's beef with Otangelo is that Otangelo isn't a vitriolic douchebag like Smokey is, and Smokey essentially called him out for that.
Yeah,
straightforwardly.
What were you saying, Corey?
That you need to be more vitriolic. And Smokey's, I mean, Otangelo's like, no, that's not how I go about this. And I do respect Otangelo for that.
Yeah.
What happened to the walking mutation?
Mutable left a while ago.
Why?
I don't know. He said in the private chat that he had to go. What were you saying though, Corey?
What a pussy. Oh, I can't say that.
By the way, it's not called a walking mutation. It's called a Cronenberg.
Oh.
Cronenberg.
There's a couple of vaginas I'd like to fucking Cronenberg. I shouldn't say things like that.
Okay, Leo.
I shouldn't say that. I didn't name any names. I would never name any names, or at least certain names, or a certain name. Never.
Got my mouse on the mute button.
No, it is very funny how fast it just like shredded. Doesn't SFT in all of his books, he's like, well, we have assembled the largest community of creationists on the internet or something like that. It's like, well, that lasted a long time.
SFT's been getting all the PhD ass hats from Answers in Genesis and ICR.
He's been going after geology recently, and it's been making Corporal Anon pretty pissed off.
He's gonna have Jason Lyle on, who's a PhD astrophysicist who doesn't know anything about astrophysics.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a discussion with that guy.
David Matt did a thing on him tonight.
Yeah, I know. I was there for the last little bit of it. I'd actually like to have a debate with him. I wonder if SFT would be willing to set that up.
So, what do you think about the like the constancy of the speed of light and all that? Well, obviously the speed of light's constant.
Yeah,
but like the bidirectional versus unidirectional thing in the Einstein
is that they're presupposing that measuring it two-way somehow changes its speed versus measuring it one way when they haven't even proven that it can change. So they're presupposing that it can change in their argument that it can change. So it's literally just a circular argument. Not to mention that
I think the point of it is to be an unfalsifiable claim, right? The point of it's not to be an actual like positive argument. It's just to be, well, how do you know this didn't happen? And it's an argument from ignorance, but it's also like, how do you know there's not a God? You know what I mean? I don't think they're trying to make an actual argument. I think they're just trying to get rid of an argument that's on their shoulders.
And the thing is that we've run experiments on the speed of light, and it's constant. If it weren't, we would have never been capable of making nuclear warheads. Nuclear power plants wouldn't exist, which means that like nuclear submarines and nuclear aircraft carriers wouldn't exist. Stars wouldn't exist. Our GPS system would not work. There's numerous technologies we couldn't utilize if the speed of light wasn't a constant.
Well, so the argument's not that it's not constant, it's that the unidirectional. Yeah.
It's that they're arguing, their argument is that because we can't measure it from point A to point B, we don't know what its speed actually is, because we have to measure it from point A to point B and then back to point A. And they're presupposing that in that it changes before actually demonstrating that it should or needs to change in that. Because the reason that they want to get rid of the speed of light is because to get rid of the distant starlight problem. The fact that, well, how can we see galaxies billions of light years away if the universe is only 6,000 years old?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I just think.
Yes, but
I gotta drop the link in the chat to see if Drace wants to come in.
There's your answer, by the way. Standing for Truth says no. He only debates PhDs. He just
So
had
standing here.
yeah. No, I talked to him over in his stream.
Wait. Jason Lyle only debates PhDs?
Yeah.
Huh.
Jason Lyle probably doesn't debate PhDs. He probably only debates creationists because he debated Hugh Ross, who's an old earther.
The whole "will I only debate PhDs" is a way of getting out of being proven wrong by lay people because he's a professional and he doesn't want to be fucking embarrassed.
Well, the funniest one is people like Nathaniel Jeanson. He says he only debates PhDs, and then he doesn't debate PhDs.
Well, it's funny because William Lane Craig once said that, but earlier this year had a it wasn't really a debate, but it was a discussion with Cosmic Skeptic. So
Really? Like just a conversation thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, Jeanson had that one discussion with like something like Hugh Mays something. I don't remember his name. And then he hasn't had a debate with anyone since. And in fact, people always talk to Dan and Swamidas, and they're like, "Why haven't you reached out to Jeanson? Why take these problems up with Jeanson?" And they're like, "I've tried. I've sent multiple emails to him. He just hasn't responded to anything."
I challenged SFB mod, good old Joel, to a debate last night. He said he only debates professionals, even though he's not one.
That's so funny,
But
actually.
again, it's a way for people to get out of not having a discussion or a debate with somebody that's not a professional, but would still show them up.
Yeah, well, it's also a stupid argument. Like, you don't need a degree to be right.
Yeah, and you don't need a degree to engage in discussions or debates.
Yeah, it's a weird gatekeeping thing, and the people gatekeeping are the ones that shouldn't even be gatekeeping.
Yeah. It's funny. It's really funny.
Like, it would make sense if Demeter said, like, "Oh, I'm only going to debate, like, a creationist with a PhD in biochem, so that way he can, actually get in depth on this stuff." That would make sense, and I applaud him for not doing that.
So Dr. Lyle has papers on the one-way speed of light thing, the average speed of light.
Yeah, and there's literally no such thing as a one-way speed of light. And that's the thing, is that they're saying that what we call the speed of light is the average from point A to point B and then point B back to point A. That's just not the case.
What do you mean?
Can we measure it somehow directly? The speed of light in different directions. How do you think?
What he means by papers is there's a couple of articles on answers in Genesis, and they make them look like papers. So,
Yeah.
Leo, have you seen the Veritasium video? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Like, because I think that's more akin to like what he's arguing.
All they're saying is that we can't. Oh, why is my camera still off? All they're saying is, what the fuck is this? And they said, well, and I said, yeah, technically you could. And when I went on to Striving for Eternity, I was like, well, technically there is a way you could theoretically measure the speed of light one way. And they're like, well, what is that? And I'm like, so how would you measure it from the Earth to the Moon one way? And I said, and I was kind of trolling when I said this, I'm not gonna lie. I said, oh gee, I just lost my train of thought. I said, well, all you would do is just go to the moon and figure out how long it took a beam of light to get to you. But the reason we have to go two ways is because we can't synchronize two clocks if we move them, which you would have to move them because then it's in motion and it's subject to albeit very, very infinitesimal, but still meaningful when you're talking about the speed of light, time dilation. So essentially special relativity just doesn't let you do it.
Yeah.
Special relative. So, but this is the funny thing is that the science that tells us we can't measure the speed light one way is the same science that tells us the speed of light is a constant. So how are you going to appeal to special relativity to argue that the speed of light isn't constant when the same special relativity that you're appealing to says that the speed of light is a constant? And this is the cherry picking of science by creationists.
Yeah. Well, I just think that so relativity would just say that the average speed of light is constant, right? And you could substitute any
average speed of light. It's just the speed of light. There's only one speed of light, and that is the speed of light.
Well, could you substitute any equation with c in it for like c1 plus c2 over 2?
Probably not.
Why not?
Because it would depend on what kind of equation you're talking about. Because c doesn't go in every equation. So if you're talking about,
I'm just saying like any equation
about, like
first the constancy.
What is it like? If you're talking like t equals 1 over the square root of v squared over c squared, if you changed c, that equation would just give you junk.
Yeah, but you're not changing c. You're just inserting, instead of having just a single c variable, it's c1 plus c2 over 2.
What would C2 be?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
thing.
C1 plus C2 over 2 is like 2.998 whatever 10 to the 8th meters per second.
Yeah, you would just get really, really shitty math.
Don't all of the cosmological constants derive from the speed of light, or most
Pretty
of them?
much.
Yeah. So I mean, if speed of light were not constant, and it's a mathematical thing, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. If the speed of light wasn't constant, nuclear warheads would have never been developed.
Well, nothing would work.
Nuclear fusion reactors wouldn't have been developed. Our GPS system wouldn't work. So it's just pure stupidity. And then I mentioned that, and then they said, well, what? They asked something about what C actually is, and I said, well, C is given as being equal to 1 over the square root of the. Give me a second here, because I get these two mixed up all the time. The permittivity of space multiplied by the permeability of space, I believe. Or I might have gotten that backwards. I think wait, no. Yeah, no, that's their way. It's rho naught by epsilon naught. So yeah. And then this is what they said. Well, you're just throwing out equations. You're just throwing out these formulas. And I'm just like, yeah. Well, that's not addressing what we said. I'm just like, this is what I said. I'm like, yeah, it is. You just don't understand it. Because it's truth. They just didn't understand it. And then when I had mentioned that, we couldn't have nuclear warheads, we couldn't have GPS system, anything if the speed of light wasn't a constant, they're just like, well, that's not addressing. I'm like, I'm actually giving you examples of how we know that it has to be a constant, because if it wasn't, technology that we have that obviously works and works well would not work. If you ever get a chance, and I don't know if any of you did, David Neff premiered it on his channel, but I'm only in there for maybe 15 or 20 minutes because I kept saying, no, you're wrong. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. And then they decided to project their own arrogance and ignorance onto me. The one Andrew Rappaport guy said, I'm arrogant in my ignorance or something like that. I'm just like, I don't even know what that means. Obviously, I know more than you guys. And that's the problem. I don't think that they were even remotely prepared for how much I actually knew about the subject. I just don't think that they were expecting.
Wait, what was this on? Did you go on to like some live stream?
Well, it was when David was having a second debate with this Anthony Silvestro guy on Striving for Eternity. It's on David Neff's channel.
Okay.
And then he came into David's after show, and he tried to say that the Higgs boson hasn't been found, and I tried to walk him through that. And at the end of it, because he was making a bunch of claims about particle physics, and he tried to tell me that particles aren't perturbations in fields of energy. And so I asked him, I said, Anthony, do you know what gauge field theory is? And he's like, no, you'd have to explain. I'm like, and that tells me everything I need to know.
Well, I can say that I do not know what that is.
Gauge field theory is the mathematical underpinnings of quantum field theory, and more specifically particles and particle interactions, that is mainly utilizes aspects of abstract algebra like Lie algebra and group theory. It's not fun. It's God mode math.
Yeah. I find
Stanling and his crowd are linking a video to me, and Tony is telling me about ABio. So
where are you in Standing's live chat?
Yeah, I'm looking at his live chat. So let's see. He's got a video here. He says it has like 3 million views.
No. Right now, ask Tony. Be like, Tony, when are you going to debate Leo on ABio? Because all he's going to do is be like, oh, RNA world, we can't do that. It's false. Like, that's going to be his only objection to everything that I say.
Oh, why the speed of light is immeasurable by Veritasium? That one?
Yeah. And they linked me that video, and I've seen it because I used to follow Veritasium. But I think it's funny that they have to cite a YouTube video because apparently they can't cite any actual published work because they know it won't agree with them.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a pretty common thing. That's why Otangelo goes to his blog.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
You see, in his blog, he can make the summary say whatever they want.
Yep. And he says he does it just because he doesn't want to type everything out. I'm like, no, it's just because you make bad arguments and you just can't really link. And when he links to, like, when he was linking all these papers about DNA being a code and all that stuff, literally it mentions the title, but he's presupposing that those aren't analogies before demonstrating. And this is how you know these guys are lay people, is because they take these terms seriously when actually nobody in the field does.
That's all they got to do is show up, and Anthony Maurice goes absolutely fucking bananas. I mean, he just starts spitting out his ABio shit.
Did you ask him when we're having a debate on ABio? Be like, hey, I'll host it, or David Neff will host it.
Tony?
Yeah. Just be like, hey, when are you debating Leo? He literally just asked when that debate's supposed to happen. I want to know what his response is going to be.
Let's see what he says. Tony versus Leo on A bio. So standing for truth, put that down.
Yeah, Standing apparently endorses it. So
and SFT, or let's see, SFT says, or Tony says, ha, and then Tony Marie said, sure.
All right, ask him when and where.
Well, he'll want it on Standing's channel.
Of course.
But we should make him do it over here.
Yeah,
So
be like, let's also either let Speed or David Neff host it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Good. Dude, I did not get much sleep last night.
Pussy.
Yeah, I gotta go eat a BLT.
That sounds
The BLT. Bacon, lettuce, and tomato?
I just said, oh yeah, we got this gypsy bacon. It's like made by this little smoke shop in northern Minneapolis. Fucking great.
BLT is booty licking time.
It's just great.
Yes, that's what the innuendo was for.
And what I do is I pile the bacon about maybe 4 or 5 inches tall, and then I squish it down as much as I can. So I use about a half pound of bacon on one sandwich.
Damn, that's like a quarter of a pig.
Oh yeah, that's the way I roll.
God, I haven't had bacon in 10 years probably.
What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Why? No, what bacon? What? You haven't had what? You haven't had bacon in 10 years?
I haven't eaten pork since 5th grade, 6th grade?
Why?
Something
Because pork is halal? Or is halal the right word?
haram.
Yeah,
It's not
halal.
halal. Halal would be things you can't eat.
Is like kosher.
Yeah, halal is kosher. Haram is bad.
So
like,
are you
know,
now or something?
in Footloose, the music is haram,
Buddy.
as one might say.
Buddy.
No, I just think I just don't approve of factory farming methods, and I think pigs are too intelligent of a species. I am trying to excise beef as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Most pork doesn't come really actually from the term factory farm doesn't actually exist anywhere in agricultural academia because it is an ill-defined term.
Yeah. I agree. Have you ever seen the documentary Food Inc. though?
No, it's a terrible documentary filled with a great amount of misinformation. You got to remember, you're talking to somebody who lives in rural Iowa, has pretty much his entire life, and has spent the last 13 years in the agriculture industry.
But yeah, well, I mean, I'm still from South Alabama, but South Alabama doesn't have too many livestock. It's mostly agricultural.
What do you stink?
Standing is here. Hey,
this cat stinks.
He's on our chat.
He's also referring to the Veritasium video that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, he thinks that I just haven't seen this video and that this is like the be-all, end-all when it's not.
It's a good video, though. It's an interesting video.
Yeah, it's an interesting video. It would be nice if they could actually cite from academic professionals that say what they say, but none of the academic professionals say that, so they won't.
The thing is, what the hell? Don't they measure the speed of light like one way?
Well, so
no.
What he's referring to, so the problem is the way the speed of light's been measured so far is you shine a laser at a mirror, essentially, and you, like in a vacuum, and you count the amount of time that it took the laser to get from the site that it started at back to the site that it started at, and then you divide it by 2.
But it doesn't change the math. I mean, it doesn't change the math that they use to arrive at the speed.
No, of light. And it doesn't show that the speed of light is varying anywhere in that journey because it's not.
Yeah, that's the one problem I have though, because what would you use to test it? I think it's an unverified assertion on the part of the creationists. I think the biggest problem that the biggest problem that comes from assuming non-uniform speed of light would be the fact that it's an unverified assumption and it sort of implies a deceiver god. You know what I mean? Like, why would a god do that? I used to think the distant starlight problem was a really good argument. I don't necessarily think so anymore.
Speed is he done? I love that because in the thing, he said, Anthony Silvestro said, I have a doctoral, and I didn't say it because I wasn't trying to be a dick, but I really wanted to say, in dentistry. Explain how that relates to physics, guy.
Yeah, they have a lot of dentists, I think, and what anesthesiologists and whatever.
There was also the dentist dude who was like the cube world thing. It's not a young Earth creationist thing, but it was crazy.
What?
The cube world? God.
Oh, I forgot I was going to mention this when this stream fucking started, and I forgot. I want to see a discussion between John Maddox and Landon Kirknall on like things like linguistics and programming and all that stuff, and as it relates to biology, because Landon Kirknall is like literally helped develop the internet. Like he is a world-renowned computer scientist, mathematician, and astronomer. He had 4 world records in math before he graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be funny because
that was like in prime number stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I think 2 of the world records were for discovering the Mersenne prime, and I don't know if all 4 of them were. But the thing is that Maddox won't be able to like trip him up by asking, "Whoa, well, do you know what code mapping is?" and all that stuff that he does, because he only learns big words to try to trip up his opponents that he's assuming don't know what he knows. And Landon doesn't take shit. So like if he tries to, like if John Maddox tries to pull, well, obviously you weren't listening to me when I said, Landon will be like, "Oh, I heard you. You were just wrong." It would just be so entertaining to see that discussion. So entertaining. And once I actually get on OBS where I can learn how to like set up fancy backgrounds and bring other people in, I'm gonna talk to Landon and see if he would be willing to do this kind of just as more of an entertainment thing. And then talk to Maddox and be like, "Hey, would you be willing to sit down and actually talk with one of the world's most renowned computer scientists who literally helped develop the internet about, coding and language and programming as it relates to biology?"
So Top Dog quit playing his videos. I was enjoying them.
Yeah, those were kind of cool.
Next time you should play John Wick.
Yeah.
It's the whole movie.
We have requests. Oh, there we go. I don't know how he does that.
I don't either. Is it an OBS thing?
Yeah, I believe.
No, I don't know how he does it with his paws. I mean, like he doesn't have fingers.
He's got claws.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, no. Dogs?
Bell's theorem does not posit superluminal communication at all.
Cat down the road. Who's the cat down the road? We got a cat down the road.
Bell's theorem I'm sorry. That's just funny. Oh my God. Bell's theorem push. I know it doesn't.
Oh,
I know some of those words mean.
All Bell's theorem tells us is that quantum mechanics is incompatible with the idea of local hidden variables. It essentially, Bell's theorem essentially tells us that quantum mechanics is non-local.
Yeah. Okay, so then what does that have to do with superluminal communication?
Nothing.
Okay.
And that's the thing. These idiot creationists memorize a bunch of big words that they honestly don't really know, or they might like know how to regurgitate whatever they read off, like, I don't know, physics.stackexchange.org or Wikipedia or whatever website they're going to, but they don't know what it actually means. They don't know the minutia that's in whatever it is that they're saying. And then they regurgitate that thinking that they're going to beat out their opponents because their opponent isn't going to know whatever term they just used.
Oh, that's John Maddox's entire debate strategy.
Well, yes, it is. And when you, and like, even if you say, it'd be like, no, why don't you define it for me? He'll go, well, okay, so I'm assuming you don't know what it is. It's like, I actually didn't say that. I just want you to define it for me. I know what superluminal is. Do you think I'm stupid? I'm quite certain I know physics better than you, Cat.
Who is Cat down the road? Do you know Cat down the road?
Clue.
Have you seen him before?
Probably a sock from somebody. I've seen him before a couple times.
Oh, it's Maddox. It's Maddox.
I doubt it's Maddox.
But it could be Jason Nesser.
Maddox is afraid to come in. Oh, there's the sun. I love those goddamn things.
That's called granulation.
That's what I would.
Wow.
Those are the result of the convection currents. It's kind of essentially the bubbles. It's essentially the bubbles. It would be akin to looking at the bubbles roiling on the surface of a pot of boiling water. It just, plasma on the surface of a star.
Wouldn't it be awesome to be launched into the sun?
No.
Brenda's back.
I want to.
Dude, one of you bring Brenda in.
I got it.
Oh, wait a minute. What the hell? Okay, I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to let you be in charge, Walker.
Welcome. Nice to see you.
Good evening. Yeah.
Yeah, how's it going?
Just kind of bored wandering around. That's why.
Wandering
here.
around at this time of the day.
Well, I mean, I was listening to Smokey. I was listening to
Good
you
God, why?
guys. I was listening to Tom Jump. I was listening to other people, and just kind of going here and there, getting bored.
I forget. No, go ahead.
You know Hamza's Den?
Hamza's Den. It rings a bell, but I can't.
It's a Muslim stream.
Ooh, Muslim stream. Oh no.
Are they creationists?
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
Muslim.
I would not go there. I would not go to that den.
I have a buddy named Hamza.
I did.
You're
Was it
brave.
Hamza's
It was
Den?
Hamza's Den.
Huh.
It's actually kind of interesting. Tom Jump has been on it twice. I went there. It was they're very slick, slimy in that sense. In that, unfortunately, I got sucked in to a debate I didn't really want to have about, because you know how creationists will always talk about Darwinism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just complaining about that. And so we basically got stuck into like 45 minutes of bickering about what Darwinism means and whether or not it was very frustrating for me.
Bug.
What did they say Darwinism meant?
Brain bug here.
Well,
Brain bug.
you
brain
know
bug?
what they want to do. You know what they want to do. They want to connect it to Darwin, and then they want to pull things and it's not an intellectual thing. It's we want to connect it with Darwin and then say all these things about how it's various negative things. And I was resisting that, and I probably should have just let them go with that, because I think it would have been, because the parts I wanted to get to the parts that they were saying that were wrong about evolution in general, but I couldn't get past that sort of semantic semantic bickering is what I would call it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I found about like Muslim creationists that it's the biggest reason I just don't really enjoy talking to them as much. It's more about the philosophy, and they don't seem to even like try to make scientific arguments.
Well, they don't. No creationist does. And this is the thing. I was talking to, I believe, David Neff about this, and this was after a stream, and I was explaining to him that and this is across the board with all conspiracists, because I'm sorry, creationism is a form of conspiracy, mainly because
You don't have to apologize.
anything that works against them is somehow evidence for them. And what I'm about to say, you see with creationists, flat earthers, climate contrarians, anti-vaxxers, all these people, they always want to put you on the defense. They always want to be on the offense in a debate. The reason for this is because they know that if they're on the defense, they will look bad because they have an indefensible model. They can't provide a reasonable and substantive defense of their position. It's all about poking holes and trying to expose problems in the other model rather than presenting and defending their own. Because the thing is, even if our models on whatever it is, flat earth or the shape of the earth, evolution, creation, it doesn't matter. If our models were somehow wrong, that doesn't inherently make theirs right. And that's something that they seem to think is the case. So they always go on the offense. They hate being on the defense. And that's what I think I actually mentioned this to you as well, Walker, because what you did with SFT in your debate is you kept him on the defense. And it was brilliant because it showed he just doesn't really have a solid defense of his non-model because he doesn't really have one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's more fun to debate the Christian creationists, because usually they have like a semblance of a model, right? They're like, oh, well, genetic entropy. Oh, this is what this thing should look like. And then you can actually talk about the data and be like, no, so that's not it.
Yep.
If you like press a Muslim creationist on any of the creationist parts of their belief, they're just like, God did it. They're kind of like the ID movement, but an entire religion. It's very gray.
And I got to be honest, I've stopped just using the term intelligent design because, buddy, you can't chew the fucking cord, guy. Because they're not. Intelligent design was a clever rewording of it to make it sound more palatable. It's just creationism. Yeah.
No, the C design proponentists
or creation science. That's the one I love.
Well, so the ideas would never say creation scientists, but have you ever seen like the doc? What was it? It's a Nova documentary like Devil Went Down. No, Devil Went Down to Dover is the book.
I do think I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, there's a documentary on the
Dover
Dover trial, and it's very interesting to, I don't know, just see how the ID
I
movement evolved.
Yeah,
I watched that. Who's Thomas Fan?
Hi.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Muted. I didn't mute.
Hey Leo, so I put a link to that, to Hamza's Den, Answering Atheist, Deciphering Darwinian Delusions, and I gave it the timestamp to where I appear there.
Okay.
If anybody's interested in
Yeah, I have that tab pulled up, so I will definitely watch that. One of my favorite discussions I saw you in was on Discord against Nephilim Free.
Was that the information one?
Yes.
Did I make any mistakes?
Not that I could see. I thought you did well.
Okay, I just hammered him over and over and over.
Where was that?
It was on Discord. Oh, I think you have it on
Godless. It was on Godless Girl's channel, though. Yes.
Okay.
It's on mine, but it was on Godless Girl's channel. Yes.
Yeah, it was in Godless Girl's Discord, but I believe Brenda has it on her YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Hamza's Den. So do they let just random people come in? Sometimes?
Sundays. I think it's Sundays. I'm not sure about other days.
I
think you probably want to get in touch with him over Facebook, because he talked to me about getting in touch with him on Facebook to talk about these things. And so I think he has a really large following on Facebook.
Which one is the guy that I guess you would call Hamza? Is it this white dude?
He's in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. He is a white American. He left his wife and children, moved to the Middle East, and married a Muslim woman and became Muslim.
Talk about a fun
within the space of 3 months.
Damn, poor family.
That's okay. Okay.
Well, there was something going on there then. There was something. Who knows what that is. But.
Yeah, there's got to be more underlying that story.
Well, that goes with, you know who Doug is to Pine Creek.
I think so.
Yes.
So Doug at Pine Creek has a theory. He says that young nubile Catholic women have converted more atheists than any apologist has. So the theory is that it's either sort of like late teens, like 17, 18, the early 20s, when you're a young man, you're forming your ideas, or else it's romantic. You marry a Catholic girl, you marry a Baptist girl, and you become Catholic because you've married her, mm-hmm. and you're with her family and everything, and you want to fit in.
Yo.
Yeah. That's Douglas's theory.
As I remember, we didn't marry the Catholic girls. We just went out with the Catholic girls.
Went out with the Catholic girls, or went into the Catholic girls?
The Catholic girls were always a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why he said. I'm sort of inserting that denomination in there. It could be any denomination, of course.
So Thomas Fan 2018, what's up?
Is he old? Is he underage? Is he underage?
I don't
know if it was somebody who's underage or just a female.
It's hard to say.
What's up? Hasn't said nothing, but anyway.
Oh, going.
Could have been underage. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm more inclined to believe it's a Poe. Someone just to fuck with you. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Stanley's group, or maybe it was Anthony Maurice,
Oh, yeah, that could have been Tony.
Well, maybe he twisted his balls in a bunch and raised his voice. I don't know. Anyway, I was like new people. That's a good imitation.
So I've been going, as you guys know, I've been debating flat earthers quite a long time, and it's really died down. But what has happened is
they are losing their shit because they're all conspiracy theorists.
Mhm.
They are losing their shit about, especially in the EU, about coronavirus and the lockdowns.
Oh my
They're just losing it.
Yep.
So we had to get a car fixed yesterday, and my friend dropped my ex's brakes went out, and my friend dropped her off, and he went in, and the girl didn't have a mask on, and so then when I went and paid for it, I made my ex-wife go in because she's already a Cub food worker. I wouldn't go into the store. I'm trying to limit my contact. You know, we just barely made it through this family gathering.
And in the United States, it definitely masks, hand sanitizer, washing hands, because
Minnesota
we are
is-
doing
I feel
so
like-
fucking bad in this country.
Okay,
It's not-
so I feel like Alabama is a completely different world from like where all of my friends are from. Most of my friends are from like California or like the Midwest, like Chicago and stuff. Dude, okay, so everybody in my family so far has had COVID except for me, my mom, and one of my sets of grandparents. Literally, my dad, my brother, and then my other set of grandparents, and my cousin, my aunt, my uncle. Everybody's had COVID.
Yeah,
are they all anti-maskers?
No, most of them. I mean, they're not liberal, but they're liberal for Alabama.
So what you mean is that they're liberals?
They're like
Just
they're
not
like
leftists.
centrist.
So
No.
yeah, liberals, just not leftists.
No, they're like center right.
Yeah, that's a liberal. Like
Yeah, we had-
Barack Obama is center right. That's
Well, they would never. No, they're still like Trumpers and shit, but they're not like
Oh, so
far
they're
right, like
conservative.
conspiracy nuts.
well, so they're just conservatives.
Yeah, well, they're like Republicans.
Typ-
I'm just saying they're comparatively liberal. Like compared to our neighbors, they are liberal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're not like QAnon fucking
Yeah,
sucking Donald
yeah,
Trump. Like, hey, are they Donald Trump won this election?
No, not at all.
So they're
I
just
had these-
typical
I-
run-of-the-mill conservative.
I
Yeah,
have these relatives in Itasca County, and Itasca County, I guess, is one of the fastest growing, and they're all they all believe that it's not COVID, it's pneumonia. It's like, yeah, but we had 7,000 cases again yesterday. So
mhm.
I'm afraid to go outside, to be honest.
yeah, I'm trying to limit contact. We had a big family gathering on Monday, and then we went 5 days taking our temperature. And now I'm just going to start telling people to fuck off if they want me to do something where I've got to contact people. I just don't want to do it.
You guys know
Get a
where
boo-boo's
I
hella to
live?
blow with them.
Do you know where I live? One of the worst states. I live in fucking
Was
Iowa.
Iowa bad?
Well, okay, so Kim Reynolds, she pretty much like, all right, guys, come on now. Let's get real here. Last time I didn't do anything, and if you keep this up, I'm gonna have to do nothing again this time. Don't make me do it. That's fucking Kim Reynolds right now. She's just fucking a piece of work.
Yeah, what are the? I know that. So the problem is a lot of the states aren't population adjusted. Like when you look up the stats, they're all like, oh well, New York and Texas are the worst. It's like, well, they just have the most people. I guarantee you the rural states are the ones that are getting fucked over the most.
Per
right now.
capita, the rural Republican states are just blowing everybody out of the water.
Yeah.
Because they're filled with the, well, I ain't gonna put on no mask and take away my freedom.
Yeah,
Well,
well, like I said,
rural
my whole
Minnesota-
family's had it.
Apparently somebody
Rural
did a
Minnesota is
sociological. Go ahead.
Rural Minnesota is highly Republican,
Mhm.
and their numbers are soaring.
Yeah.
And like my friend out west, he's I don't know what the hell he is exactly. He's a conspiracy theorist, but he was telling me how he was downplaying COVID. No, I noticed his county shooting up too, even though there's only 5 people there. They have 300 and some cases.
Wow, 300 cases between 5 people.
Yeah, I think
Crazy.
so. Yeah, I don't know. They must
Apparently
be.
somebody did like some sort of sociological study and found that most of the men who are anti-mask are also the same type of men, psychologically speaking, that are very much opposed to wearing condoms. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
God, has anyone done the statistics on the number of Republicans versus Democrats that are getting COVID? Somebody must have.
I think, I don't know, honestly, because when people get tested, they're not asking what their political affiliation is, but just looking at the numbers in the states and adjusting per capita, which I believe people have done. Republican states are doing significantly worse. I think that's a strong indication.
because my anecdotal experience is that all my Republican friends are sort of downplaying, except for one. He's really smart guy, but he's real conservative and kind of.
Well, he can't be that smart if he's that staunchly conservative. Everybody tells me, "Oh, I mean, you can't say things like that." I'm like, I'm sorry, but you kind of can. If you look at what the modern Republican Party and just what modern American conservatism stands for, I don't see how somebody could be considered maybe educated, because I define a difference between education and intelligence. Obviously, there's a link there, but I think that they're not the same thing. Somebody can have a freaking PhD in a subject and still be a complete fucking idiot like Jason Lyle.
Yeah. I don't know. He early on he got into making masks or shields for the hospital, and I think he's making an absolute fortune on it. But he did it out of concern for the public.
Yeah.
That's why he started it, and he ended up making money on it. So good for him.
Yep.
He's been really good about that. And anyway, he's brought me 2 bags of meat in the last couple of weeks. So I like really good meat, like smoked all pork. I'm sorry, Walker, but
I gotta
pork chop and
really quick. No, I haven't read Thomas Sowell. He's just another. I probably shouldn't use that term. Let me say this: he's just another Uncle Tom.
Hey, Loki, what's up?
I have a cat as well, sitting on my
cat
lap.
wants to talk to you. Oh,
that's my big buddy.
Mine brought the mouse of the day in the house and let him go.
Yeah, no, Buddy is a big cat. His brother Tommy is a little bit bigger. They're big boys. They are big boys. Probably anywhere between 13 and 15 pounds apiece. I mean, they're pretty big cats. He's a big boy. He's big, buddy.
It's just big boned cat.
Oh, they are big boned. They're not like super fat. I mean, they're a little chunky, but it's also starting to get colder out.
So what are those Manx cats?
Minx?
So like,
Manx.
Minx,
Yeah, the ones with the short tails. I had one.
Yeah, okay. So I had a girlfriend in northern Minnesota, like up north of Duluth, and she was telling me she had a Manx cat, a wild one that she was feeding, and it kept hissing at her and stuff, and was real hostile. And she had me even like build it a house when I went up there. And then one time I went up there with my dogs, and my dogs were barking like crazy, and they had something up a tree. And I went out and looked, and her Manx cat turned out to be like a 30-pound bobcat. And she had it in her porch, feeding it.
Wow.
Like, it could rip your face off. It's like, I couldn't believe it.
I want to get a Maine Coon.
I'm like, that is a bobcat.
That's what I want. I want a Maine Coon. Those things are fucking epic.
Yeah.
They're fucking big. Well, the males are pretty big. Females aren't like, they're bigger than your average female cat, but they're not like this massive fluff affair like the males are.
There's something for you. I posted in chat.
Well, this ought to be interesting.
Where's that?
Private chat. Twitter status.
Private.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
It is good.
Okay, low key that song that dude plays kind of slaps, though, doesn't it?
Oh my god.
Doesn't it?
I look forward to the day when we don't have to see that shit anymore.
Donald Trump?
Yeah. That's what I really, really, really care about, is just not listening to him, not seeing them, not.
He's, we need to prosecute him, because otherwise he won't go away.
I know.
What he's going to do, or at least what I would do if I was him, is the moment I'm actually forced out of the White House, I start campaigning right away for the next election, for 2024.
Do you know what I think he's going to do? He's going to start some sort of a talk radio show or
he's going to start a media company.
Trump TV.
Yeah, as far as that's literally probably what's going to be. It's going to be either like Trump Talk, Trump Radio, Trump. He'll probably have a Trump TV, a Trump Radio.
Trump Radio right next to InfoWars.
Leo is Irish Dessel. I don't know if you
what?
He's asking what ethnicity. You're Irish, right?
No, well, that's part of it. I'm Irish, German, Trinidadian, and Native American.
Oh, cool. The more you know.
I'm a hybrid.
They get around.
And my wife, my future wife, is British, and I think like 1/8 Indian. and that's like in Indian, not Native American, because there's a difference.
Yeah.
Indian.
Is she really? Wow.
Yeah. She had a grandmother or a great grandmother that was I don't know if she was fully Indian, but was largely Indian.
All right, guys. I think I'm gonna call it a night.
Pussy.
I'm getting pretty tired.
Me too. Except who's running this stream, Walker? I wanted to bail first.
Leo?
No.
Are you running it, Leo? No. Okay.
I'm thinking tomorrow I should probably get going. We should, because I got
20 we should close it.
But tomorrow I will be doing a video on my channel. I'm probably just going to upload it. I don't know if I'll premiere it or do it live. I'm just probably upload it on.
Oh, what?
It's going to be an intro to my new series. I'm not going to tell you what the series is called because you'll see it in the video. I was going to do it this weekend, but it just didn't get around to it. But I'm going to be addressing the naturalism of the gaps or materialism of the gaps. Not really an argument that these creationists try to run.
Okay, let's say good night to the public. Good night, public.
Good night, public.
No, night, ladies.
What happens if we both hit the end button?
It'll doubly end.
Oh.
All right. Good night, public.
Good night, public.
Bye, everybody.